Welcome back to In Pursuit 360. So yes, it has definitely been a while, but I am still here and I am still making videos. So I appreciate y'all sticking around. I appreciate everybody signing up. We're about yay close to hitting 400 subscribers. So thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate your confidence and all your comments. Today's video is special going out to Austin. Austin had asked a question about a scenario type question for an interview. So let's go ahead and get that little introduction thing to slide in here and then slide back out and we'll get started. All right, here we go. All right, so Austin sent in a comment and asked a question if I would address a scenario question for interviews. So what would you do, or describe a situation, here you go, describe a situation where you have dealt with an aggravated or frustrated or an upset individual, and how did you handle it? So this can be tricky. So most folks that are just trying to get into law enforcement, depending on what your background is, you may really have to think about this. And Austin, I'm telling you, this was a great question because this is one that comes up. So how are you going to, what experiences do you have that you're going to draw from? So of course, if you're an officer going from one agency to another, it's pretty simple. I mean, you have all kinds of experiences that you've dealt with, people on the street where you can say, you know, oh, I dealt with this drunk, or I dealt with this domestic, or I dealt with this, or I dealt with that. Those are easy. If you don't have that type of experience, if you don't have actual law enforcement experience, what else can you draw from? So have you done security? Then you can possibly draw on, I was working security at this site and I had an individual that forgot their ID and they couldn't get into the building. And when I denied them access, they got upset, they got very frustrated, and this is how I dealt with it, right? Or what if we haven't worked security before? What if we've not had any of that kind of experience? What if we're a college graduate? Then what experience have you had? So this is something that you really need to kind of think about. What have you done within your life? And remember, in some of the other videos, I tell you that all of your answers, everything that you come up with should kind of include that theory of to protect and serve. So think about your life. Think about things that you dealt with in the past, even with it, if it's with a family member. Actually had somebody recently that I know about who had a family member that had passed away. It was his wife's family member, and there were a lot of issues with other, I don't know, I don't want to get into too many details because anyway, people were coming in and like taking stuff out of the house that had no reason to take anything out of the house. So how do you deal with that? How do you confront these people and deal with that? Well, that can be a situation, right? So think about something in your past. Think about when I was in high school, believe it or not, and this will lead to another question that another subscriber had. I was an introvert. I stayed to myself. I didn't like to read out loud. I didn't like to talk in front of groups. I didn't like to do any of that. And there was a bully. There was a school bully that was picking on me. And finally one day he was picking on me in front of the class, and I just stood up to him in front of the entire class. I don't know why I did it. Have no idea. And I just told him, I was like, look, you know what? You can probably roll me up in a ball, dribble me down the hallway, and slam dunk me in the gym. But if you're going to do it, just do it. Other than that, leave me alone. And I did it in front of the whole class. He had no idea what to do with that because I just stood my ground. You know, if you're going to do it, do it. If not, leave me alone. And it worked. So maybe that's a scenario for you. Have you dealt with a bully before? Have you stood up to them where they back down? I don't know. You know, it's kind of a tough one because it's really to the individual. You need to think about your life, think about your past, think about things that you've dealt with in the past. How about you bought a pair of sneakers and on day 5 the sole came apart, right? And you had to take them back to the store and the customer service person was all snobby and nasty and they didn't want to help you. But you spent, 50 some bucks or 120 bucks or I don't know, whatever sneakers are going for, and you try to take them back going, hey, I want my money back or a new pair of sneakers. These came apart. Oh no, they're as is. What did you do? Go climb a mountain? You know, how did you deal with that? So this question of, mention a time when you dealt with somebody that was frustrated or uncooperative or was giving you a hard time is really going to depend on your history. But Austin, I'm telling you, it was a great question. And it's something that everybody needs to think about. There are certain things in your life that you need to think about before you go into these interviews. Now, yes, my channel concentrates on law enforcement interviews, right? Or getting a job in law enforcement or things within law enforcement or even private security, right? Which is where I'm at now. But these interviews can be anything. What if you're going for a major corporation and it's an HR generalist or an HR manager's job? They may ask you the same question. Name a time when you dealt with a dissatisfied customer or a dissatisfied person, and how did you handle it? It's a key question. It's a great question, actually. And I think I actually typed back to Austin, hey, great question. I'm going to have to make sure I cover this because it's key. Because don't forget, in these interviews, whether it be law enforcement or civilian for whatever job, I mean, take your pick. When they're asking about how you would deal with somebody that's upset, they're not looking for you to have had the experience and training to deal with somebody in a very specific way. They're trying to figure out what your mindset already is. So what is your mindset? Where are you at? Are you like, well, I told him to kiss my butt and get out of my face? I can tell you right now, no law enforcement agency wants that. I mean, big city departments, maybe? No, I'm just kidding. All right, we'll talk about that in another video. The way that big city departments and smaller county departments or whatever handle things are completely different. If I haven't told that story, I will definitely come up with that one. But you have to remember, they want to know that you're going to think and you're not going to let people get you riled up. People will say things, do things to get you frustrated and do something that you're not supposed to do, so that the bad thing they did is going to end up getting nullified because you lost your cool. So name a time that you dealt with something or someone that was irritated, agitated, gave you a hard time, didn't do what you asked them to do, or whatever. Come up with something. Go back, if you're young, you got to go back to high school, go back to high school. Find an incident in school that happened. I don't know, member of the band, you were going for first chair and the current first chair gave you a hard time, told you were no good at the flute, or you're no good at the trumpet, you're no good at the drums, take your pick. And you dealt with it by saying something like, well, you know what, first chair, I get it. You've held that position for a couple of years now. I just want to give it a shot because I think I have something to offer the band. I'd really appreciate any tips you could give me, right? So the whole idea in dealing with somebody that's frustrated or aggravated or whatever is, how do you disarm them? How do you take away what they're trying to do to you so that you end up with a positive outcome? My mom's husband, retired Navy, passed away now, unfortunately. But he was in, what did they call it? He was Navy, and he helped people transition from active duty to like retirement or getting out, like in how to find a new job and all that. I can't remember what they call it. But anyway, they always said they always tried to look for the win-win, right? So when you got out of the Navy and retired, that was a win. And then you got a good job in the civilian world, that was a win. So it was a win-win instead of a win-lose. You don't try to come out even, you try to come out on top. So it's kind of the same thing in dealing with these people that are aggravated, frustrated, upset, whatever, right? You're trying to come up with that win-win. So how do you win? You need to disarm them, but make them feel like they kind of came out on top. And if they feel like they came out okay in the whole situation, then you've won and they've won because now they're calmed down, right? Which is our whole goal. That's what we strive for in law enforcement. We are trying to get people to comply, follow the law, or do what we've asked or told them to do, right, without any major incidents. Not everybody agrees, not everybody likes it, but that's what they're looking for. So think of something in your life. There are a lot of things that you need to think about going into an interview. I think I've told you before. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Tell me about a time you dealt with an upset individual. Those kind of things. So think about those scenarios and how you can bring something in your life into what you're talking about. That's what they want to know. What is your mindset? How are you going to handle stressful situations? They don't want a hothead on the street. That causes trouble. Just watch the media, and I'm sure they will give you plenty of examples of hotheads that have done the right thing. They've done it for the right reason, but it looks bad, right? Because they've lost their temper. The whole idea is you've got to strive for that win-win. You've got to get them to cooperate and make them think that it's a good thing for them that they're doing it. So, yeah, that's my answer to that question, Austin. You've got to think back to a time that you may have dealt with somebody like that. It could be a parent. How about a parent? How about a situation where you got yourself in trouble? How did you deal with mom or dad when they got really pissed off because, I don't know, you came home late for curfew, or they misunderstood something a friend told them and they said you'd been drinking but you hadn't, or they said you've been drinking and you had. How did you deal with that parent? That's somebody that's upset. That's somebody that's irritated. How did you deal with that situation? So yeah, that's it. So, these are scenario questions that a lot of agencies or departments will throw at you, and they don't want to know how did you really handle that. They want to know what your mindset is. What is your mindset behind dealing with people? Because law enforcement is a people business. I don't care what anybody tells you. It is a people business. That's all we do. That's all law enforcement does is deal with people all the time. Good, bad, in the middle, happy, sad, violent, non-violent, take your pick. We deal with people. All right? So, Austin, I hope that answers your question. Everybody else, I hope that gives you a little bit of insight. Hey, do me a favor. Like I said, we're that close to 400. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button down there. I'll keep giving you some insights. Give me that thumbs up, please. I like those. It helps with the algorithm, gets me up there, gets me more subscribers and all that good stuff. I can share all this with everybody, which I love doing. And don't forget, hit that little bell notification. I promise you there are more new videos coming out for everybody. Just to give you a heads up, little sneak peek. There is going to be a special series started soon that I hope to continue on. I'm going to hit more of the details on that in my next video. So keep an eye out for that. Special new series coming out. Remember that. Look for it in the next video. And I'm also looking at something else, maybe with a little Patreon action. Haven't quite decided yet, so we'll see. So anyway, take care, be safe, and I'll see you next time on In Pursuit 360.